Words lie hushed beneath the night sky's glow. Ghosts of the past whisper secrets we know. Hands trembling now, they reach.
She was dismissed as a nobody, but this woman of no importance became the most feared Allied spy of World War II. Discover the unbelievable true story of Virginia Hall, how a disabled American woman outsmarted Nazis, dodged death, and changed the course of history. She had one leg, a fake passport, and a bullet in her purse. The Nazis called her the most dangerous of all Allied spies. Her name was Virginia Hall, and chances are you've never heard of her, but you should have. Because what she did during World War II wasn't just courageous, it was revolutionary. At a time when women were expected to stay silent and still, she was blowing up train lines, smuggling out intelligence, and building one of the largest resistance networks in Nazi-occupied France. This isn't just another war story. It's a story of a woman who defied every expectation, every limitation, including the loss of her leg, to change the course of history. Who was Virginia Hall? How did a woman deemed unfit for service become a phantom that haunted the Nazi war machine? And why did history almost forget her? Born into privilege, she could have stayed safe, but she chose danger, deception, and the front line of espionage. The enemy hunted her relentlessly. Allies doubted her constantly, yet she kept going. In the next 10 minutes, we're diving into the unbelievable true story of the spy they called the Limping Lady, a master of deception who outwitted the Gestapo time and time again. Get ready, because Virginia Hall wasn't just important, she was unstoppable. Virginia Hall was never meant to be a spy. Born in Baltimore in 1906 to a well-off family, she was expected to become a proper lady, perhaps marry rich, maybe travel. But Virginia wanted more. Fluent in French and fiercely independent, she dreamed of diplomacy, of breaking barriers. She studied in Paris and Vienna, eager to join the U.S. Foreign Service, one of the very few women who even dared to try. Then tragedy struck. At 27, she accidentally shot herself in the left foot during a hunting trip in Turkey. The leg had to be amputated below the knee. She would wear a wooden prosthetic for the rest of her life, which she nicknamed Cuthbert. For most, that would be the end of the story. A career in diplomacy over, a life of adventure gone. But not for Virginia. Rejected by the State Department because of her disability, she was furious, but not defeated. That fire only burned hotter. When the world plunged into war in 1939, Hall left behind the safety of America and volunteered as an ambulance driver in France. It was the first step into the shadows, the beginning of a transformation no one, least of all the Nazis, saw coming. When France fell to the Nazis, Virginia Hall didn't flee. She leaned in. While most Americans were evacuating, she stayed behind, quietly slipping into Britain's Special Operations Executive, or SOE, the top secret agency that trained spies for sabotage, subversion, and guerrilla warfare. Virginia had no military experience, no formal spy training, but what she did have was grit, a sharp mind, and an ability to disappear in plain sight. Under the cover of being an American journalist, she was dropped into Vichy, France in 1941. Her mission: build resistance networks, gather intelligence, and prepare France for a fight back. Operating under the alias Brigitte Lecontre, she organized safe houses, moved fugitives across borders, and coordinated supply drops, all under the nose of the Gestapo. What made her so effective wasn't brute strength. It was her genius for strategy, her nerves of steel, and her disarming charm. She built trust with farmers, priests, even black market smugglers. She passed messages on laundry lines and used invisible ink on recipe cards. She made ordinary people into wartime warriors. Virginia Hall had entered the game with one leg and zero support. Now she was becoming the very thing the Nazis feared most, a ghost they couldn't catch, and a network they couldn't kill. The Gestapo knew her only by her alias. To them, she was the Limping Lady, a phantom who organized jailbreaks, trained resistance fighters, and sabotaged German operations. Her network grew so effective, so dangerous, that she rose to the top of the Nazi most wanted list. Posters with her face went up. Rewards were offered. Captured agents were tortured for her whereabouts, but no one could catch her. Still, danger crept closer. One by one, her contacts were arrested. Her cover was at risk. She knew what the Gestapo did to captured spies: interrogation, torture, death, and yet she stayed, moving constantly, switching disguises and keeping her network alive. When her luck finally ran out in 1942, she was forced to make a decision that defied human endurance. Virginia Hall escaped France the only way left: on foot. She trekked across the frozen Pyrenees Mountains into Spain. That would be brutal for anyone. She did it with a wooden leg. Once safe, she radioed London. "Cuthbert is behaving well." It was code. It was also a warning she wasn't done yet. The Nazis had tried to hunt her down. They failed. She vanished into the mist once more, planning her next move. Because Virginia Hall never quit. She just disappeared and returned stronger. After escaping the Gestapo's clutches, Virginia Hall could have walked away from the war. She didn't. Instead, she joined the newly formed Office of Strategic Services, what we now know as the CIA. This time she returned to France ahead of the Allied invasion, disguised as a peasant woman. She dyed her hair gray, patted her face, and walked with a limp to mask her real limp. No one suspected the elderly milkmaid lugging cheese was orchestrating sabotage missions that would cripple German supply lines. She trained guerrilla units, coordinated parachute drops, and organized attacks that weakened Nazi forces from within. Her networks destroyed bridges, derailed trains, and ambushed convoys, all without official military rank, all without recognition. After the war, she received the Distinguished Service Cross, the only civilian woman to do so during World War II. President Truman wanted to honor her publicly. She declined. She said she was just doing her job. Virginia Hall spent the rest of her life in quiet service at the CIA, where even many of her colleagues didn't know her full story. She passed away in 1982, largely forgotten by history. But not anymore. Today we remember her not as a woman of no importance, but as one of the most important women in espionage history. Like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that history tried to hide, but we refuse to forget.
Ghosts of the past whisper secrets we know. Hands trembling now, they reach for the dawn, facing the unknown with armor worn. Blood on the soil where the roses once grew. Eyes locked on the stars, they guide us through. Each heartbeat a drum, in the silence we keep. Through shadows and flames where heroes still weep. Rise like the fire when the darkness falls.